Hey everyone, it's Will, Gamer Dad, with another video for you. So in tonight's episode of Should You Summon, we'll discuss the various banners that feature or focus on the new retro Stellar Awakened units Tsukiha and Suzette. Now if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel, I really appreciate it. Now first things first, before I go into the different banners including the ways we walked, just wondering if in my future Should You Summon videos, whether or not you want me to cover Should You Also Awaken? And secondly, do you want that topic to be within a Should You Summon video or as a separate playlist and video series altogether? So let me know in the comments below what you think about that, because I do think that retro units will be more of a thing in the future, and in which case obviously we'll have to discuss whether or not we should Stellar Awaken each and every unit. For the sake of simplicity, I will discuss my thoughts about the two units featured tonight. Alright, so first off, the ways we walked round 7. This one, again, is a paid banner, is not a free banner. So that means you'll need to use a Heavens subscription ticket, or you'll have to use your 1,000 paid stones. It only lasts for a couple weeks, and you do get up to 2 times 1,000 paid stones each time, and it guarantees one of the following 9 units. And it is split exactly equal, with a share of an extra 0.01% going to Eevee. So you have a much better chance of getting Eevee over the other units, of course. Now, bots, Rainbow Sisters, and Knights unfortunately are still here. So, you know what's up with that. And of course, pulls 1 to 9, you can hit every unit in the game, including all the newest ones. Note that just like before, with the advent of Stellar Awakened units, if you hit any banner, any unit off banner, including Oboro or Sirius, or even Tsukiha or Suzette in these banners moving forward, you only get 1 out of 3 gauge awakened. So in this case, this banner is not bad. Of the 9 units from left to right, top to bottom, the 5 altar units up top, they all still have some use. I mean, Cyan Slicer is pretty good, especially Wind is a very powerful damage type. RCF, of course, you've seen utilized in many elemental teams. Altar Tsukiha has her role, especially since she can offer quite a bit of shielding, debuffs, as well as decent earth slash or shade slash DPS. Altar Tuva has the overthrow awakened zone ability, which is the passive. That is unmatched by any other unit, including even the Elpis weapons. It is a very powerful move, and I believe it actually stacks with weapons, so it's considered a separate source to my understanding. Overthrow, of course, means that when you fight tougher bosses, then you'll get a bonus damage or modifier on top of that. So, very unique buff from Altar Tuva. Although on top of that, you do get the 0 MP cost for 1 turn. DPS-wise, she's quite good as well. And of course, Altar has been one of the premier slash water units in the game, alongside of ES Felmina and so on and so forth. Silver Striker on the bottom as an altar, really not much meta use at this point. Melissa is quite old now as our first global first unit. This is our first one instead, and that's like a couple of years ago. She still has marginal benefit as a flash strike stance user, one of a few units out there. And actually, she's still moderately viable now. Just, it's hard to justify spending money on a 2-year-old unit. Eevee, of course, we don't have to talk about Eevee. She's broken. And Eva, again, as one of the other Global First units, quite good, but not as good as before. In general, unless you're really gambling to get Eevee, the other units are good, but not excellent. And again, we're talking about trying to, get the best bang for your buck, in which case I would argue that this banner is not the best bang for your buck. There is some temptation with Eevee. Some of the altars are quite nice, and so on and so forth. But I think you're better off putting your funds toward other banners. Alright, so we'll move on to the other Fatefuls, and they all are the same in one sense. They all function the same way. And, let's take a look right here. For the re-encounter Murasame, which is obviously Tsukiha's, move, then you can get her with 1,000 paid stones. You get one of the 5 units. And I believe it gives you 1 star chart right off the bat with that guaranteed summon. And then after that, I believe it gives you an additional auto 1 encounter Tsukiha. Which means you get a 5-star, which is 16 shadow in this case, plus an extra star chart. And remember, if you already have a 5-star, if you pull a 5-star of Tsukiha, you get an extra 1 out of 3 gauge. So this banner for 1,000 paid stones allows you to get basically 2 out of 3 awakening gauges. And since you have 1 to start with, you'll have her fully awakened with this 1,000 paid stones. The 5 units featured as well are AS Lovely, Minolka, Ultra Tsukiha, which doesn't count, by the way, towards awakening, Ultra Shion, Jet Tactician, as well as AS Parisa. Now, this banner is quite good in terms of the units. Minolka is still a very powerful slash user. She has some limitation, but don't forget, she comes with freaking Tetra. And if you haven't heard how Tetra is broken, I mean, I don't even know what to tell you. Tetra is cheap, heals, gives you shielding, and some other abilities which we don't have to go over. I mean, you've seen us use them in action. The other 4 units aren't even bad as well. I mean, AS Parisa has some decent damage and singing abilities. Ultra Tsukiha is one of the top fire zone setters in the game with, I'll say, moderate DPS, but mainly a lot of support for debuffs and buffs for your team. AS Lovely as a counter, heal, ultimate tank times 2. 1 move that can tank 2 hits 2 turns in a row, unlimited. And of course, Jet Tactician, who can switch resist and weakness. He's still the only unit in the game with the Uno reverse card. So for those who like to play around with weaknesses, it's not bad. There's other mechanics around that nowadays, but still, he's quite good. As Fateful, just to summon for those 5 alone, I could argue that just for the chance of getting a Minolka, you're already getting benefit that way. And of course, the side benefit of that is getting the fully awakened Tsukiha, provided you already have 1 5-star on board. So if you're planning to pay 1,000 stones anyway, and you're missing a Minolka and chancing it, and the other units are not even bad as well, this is actually a pretty good banner. Though it pains me to resummon for a unit that you may already have in the form of Tsukiha. In the case of Dragoon, of course, my waifu, who you've by this time may have seen me already Stellar Awaken in my Back to Basics video about talking about the best way to side grade retro units. You can catch that video on my channel. This one features 1 in 5 chance of getting the following: AS Melody, Sesta, AS Cynthia, AS Sora, and AS Yifa, with all the other units in tow. We already know that Fatefuls also contain newest units, including Villette, Oboro, Sirius, and so on and so forth. Let's just take a quick look here. I believe that's the case still. Yep, right there. Oboro and Sirius. And so, again, this one gives you quite good value. Same thing as before. If you have a 5-star Suzette, you'll get 1 banner, which is 1 of the 5 guaranteed, plus an additional star chart right off the bat for a total and an extra 5-star 16 light Suzette, for a total essentially of a auto guaranteed awakening if you have a Suzette at 5-star. Sesta, you've seen my 5-star reviews, you've seen the videos in action. Barrier Pierce, first turn, auto wind awakening, tons of damage, Barrier Pierce. What's nice to like, boosting, 100, so on and so forth. AS Cynthia, again, another very top tier wind DPS. Not much to say about her. Very, very good. AS Yifa, one of the premier stat boosters and also a wind unit, has abilities to really boost your entire team, and especially 1 unit with the Faith ability. AS Sora, another fan favorite. One of the best tanks in the game and really useful in terms of being a lance carrier, so can carry Grasta for Suzette if you need to. Also has decent tanking and cover potential on her own. Dual debuffs galore, and very, very good synergy in most win teams. And finally, AS Melody, not as powerful as I once thought. However, the fact that she can reawaken Wind Zone every 3 turns and reestablish Wind, not even bad. Now, the thing about this banner over the Mirasame banner is, although the 5 units here are quite good on its own right, I would say of the 5, I would say that maybe AS Sora would be marginal because you can side grade her from her 3.5 or 4 directly to an AS. That's marginal benefit, but she is very useful if you don't have the materials, especially if you're newer to the game. For veterans, you would have all that, but as a newer unit player, you probably don't have that, in which case this is pretty good value as well. The one thing I will say that makes this one not nearly as tempting, with the exception, of course, of Sesta, because Sesta is just cheap. Sesta's goal is the prize here. Suzette, now that she's Stellar Awakened, can give most of your win DPS a run for its money. And not to say Tsukiha can't, but I do feel, and this is just my opinion only, I know waifu's gonna waifu and you might get a little bit upset. I feel that Suzette is just so powerful on her own now that I can't I don't even know you need other wind DPS. She might be good enough on her own, and she can set wind zone and do break and other barrier pierces and other cheap things, so that I think she can actually run a wind team on her own and just have some support. In which case, as much as this is valuable, I think that the wind team doesn't need nearly as much. She can do it all, literally. So it's not that this is a bad banner. All the units feature are actually pretty good, and especially Sesta being the best one of the 5 here. But I think if you have a Stellar Awakened Suzette, you might not need as many wind characters to carry. You just essentially need people to maintain buffs and debuffs, or maybe a tank, in which case Aesora you can side grade. If you decide to have these other units already, you just win harder, right? So anyways, just my thoughts about the situation, but they're great anyways. And finally, for those who are silly, crazy, or both, there is the free banner. And this is one that, oh man, this really hurts. I hate the system for this reason. Even if you have a 255 Suzette, when you have this update, you're now going to have to be forced to pull on the unit if you don't want to use superior gems on it. And frankly, I think you should all not pull on this banner if you have the unit already. If you don't have the unit, of course, if you're new to the game and you want the chance to Stellar Awaken units, this is a nice way to get the 2 units featured. Both Tsukiha and Suzette are here. Hitting a 4.5 does nothing, remember that. Those 4, that 1.2% boosted, is now worth very little because it'll give you 0 awakening. Before, when we were first playing, having a 4.5 meant you can eventually side grade to a 5-star, and that's still the case. However, when you side grade to the 5-star, you get 0 out of 3 awakening anyways. So if you're fresh to the game or relatively new, or you happen not to have these 2 units, even if you pull on this banner, you'll need to hit a 5-star to even start with your 1 out of 3 awakening. Note that unlike the other 2 banners, which are Ouroboros and Sirius, there is no pickup bonus. And that's another big time loss here. I understand why they're going to do it. They're forcing or pushing light spenders towards the Fateful, which gives you 2 out of 3 awakening. And this is almost like a poor man's version for the free players out there. I hate it. If it was a +1 pickup bonus, so if I hit 1 I equal 2, I would still say maybe worth it. No pickup bonus, 4.5s aren't worthwhile, and I already have the unit. Feels like a huge waste of money. So to sum it up, if you have the unit, do not summon this banner unless you feel like it anyways. Not a good use of your money. If you're new to the game and you need these units and you don't have them, this is a decent banner to summon for. However, I would argue that you're better off waiting for off banners by summoning for even newer, fully awakened, Stellar Awakened units that come with a pickup bonus, as opposed to this banner, which comes with no pickup bonus. Don't be swayed and tempted by all the videos out there that will show, wow, my Tsukiha can do this, my Suzette can do that. You're going to hurt in the long run, especially, again, from a free-to-play standpoint. The goal is never to summon on a unit that you have for sure. And if you can be patient and sparingly choose which units to side grade, and in the future, sparingly choose which units to Stellar Awaken, that will do a world of good, because we're not going to be able to do this like before, where you just auto upgrade everyone you want, no punishment, no downside to that. Nowadays, you do things wrong, it'll be hard to come back, because the materials currently required for that come only once a month, or in the case of Superior Gym, you'll have to save up a month for each one as well. Alright, so that's my thoughts on these banners. You let me know if you're planning to summon on these banners itself or not. Again, for the sake of simplicity, I'll just talk about quickly these two units and whether or not to Stellar Awaken both of them. So we'll start with Tsukiha first. Now, Tsukiha obviously got a lot more damage on it. With her Stellar Awaken abilities, she's going to now be able to give herself, I guess she will start with, I guess when she'll have an Awakened Blade mode, which basically gives her power and speed plus 100. And so she's going to be very, very powerful. And it also, when she can get that mode by activating her Stellar move. And it also gives her Lunatic Race Taker, which obviously does more damage at the price of self-damaging herself. She'll also be able to apply Hold Ground on herself. I'm assuming this is the good one, which means as long as she has any HP, it's fine, as opposed to needing a full HP bar. She will be able to do a lot of damage with her DPS in her Stellar mode, and her Stellar moves are, going to be able to apply things like slash resistance down 50%. And, other than that, the fact remains that her main DPS is quite a bit better. But the scary part is, I do feel that even with the maxed out upgraded versions of her, including all her moves and giving crit rate setting, extra DPS, fire type down, and so on and so forth, and the Stellar Awakened skills that can give her stealth, power, and speed plus 100 that can do more damage. I just don't know that I would spend Sabira's gems on Tsukiha specifically. Again, we have a lot of fire DPS as well as fire slash DPS. With the advent of having an awakened Stellar Awakened Aldo, if you have that already, and that one's free, by the way, he's not nearly as powerful, but don't forget, his DPS can switch to weakness for the Stellar move, and she can't. He also can give a lot of buffs to the team, and it's not like she can't either, but it's mainly like Katana equipped damage for all Katana users plus 30, which you're not going to be limiting your Fire Slash to just Katana user. And it can also give Fire type attack plus 50, which the thing is, again, you can get that from other fire units. Even like Aisha as a Fire Zone setter can give you Fire type up, right? So her DPS modifiers also don't feel extremely powerful. Maybe I'm just wrong in that sense, but I just don't necessarily feel that I just don't feel that you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. I actually still feel that overall, a Minolka probably can do more overall damage, which kind of sucks for me to say. But yeah, there you have it. Now, if you're talking about Suzette, though, Suzette is probably a must upgrade. And you can say I simp on Suzette, or I feel that Suzette is just my waifu, so I treat her differently. This is the problem, right? If you compare Suzette to Tsukiha, just from the upgrade of her moves, again, she is WFS's love child. Look at the move upgrades. You got, I can give everyone preemptive. You've got, I can set zone. You've got top level DPS. I don't mean a little bit of DPS. I mean top level DPS. Her stellar attack actually can do massive DPS and can pierce barriers. I don't think Tsukiha can do that. At least not to my understanding. And don't forget that Suzette can also break zone and reestablish wind zone and awaken it. So you're gonna say, okay, with her but during her enhanced stellar move. So obviously we're judging her on all her abilities, including her stellar ability. That one can not only do tons of damage, it can remove any zone, which is nice against super bosses, and deploy Awakened Zone for wind, which also applies well with people like Sesta and other units, and it does tons and tons and tons and tons of damage. So, don't know what else to tell you about that, but she just gives so much to your team just by herself. Not to mention the fact her dual debuff is now 40, which even is superior to Tsukiha. I can't say that Tsukiha is bad. don't think if you're going to choose between one or the other, because let's be honest, we only have a certain amount of Superior's gems and so on and so forth, I'd say judge your fire team first, determine how much fire you really need and whether or not you need a boost to it, and then determine whether or not you want to change over to Tsukiha as opposed to Suzette, where you know right off the bat you're getting a massive DPS increase to your team at the cost of essentially nothing, and she can do everything in one go. Again, let me know in the comments below if you disagree with me, but that's just my initial impressions off the bat. And as a final conclusion, I would argue that Suzette's Stellar Awaken is potentially more powerful than a Sirius equivalent or a Boro equivalent, if that makes sense. Anyways, for myself, I'm not summoning on anything. Holding off for the newest unit because, like I said, if you have the unit, I can use Superior's gems to buy the 2 Stellar Awakenings and side grade that way, and then save for completely new units if I want to get the full pickup bonus. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.